This video will introduce the basic tools in Adobe Illustrator. Illustrator is a vector graphics program. It is distinctively different from bitmap programs such as Photoshop, which use pixels of color. Illustrator relies on lines for most of its functions. Unlike pixels, these lines, paths, or vectors do not lose resolution as you increase the size of the artwork. Illustrator is used by architects and industrial designers to create production drawings and by graphic designers to produce logos and posters. Let's have a look at Illustrator's tools. Our focus is going to be narrow. Our main concern is getting to understand layers and the pen tool. So let's begin. The Tools menu. There are three menus in Illustrator located at the top, at the right, and at the left. The left menu, or tool palette, has the key tools. The top and right menu are modifying menus, which allow you to adjust work in progress. Illustrator can set up menus according to the requirements of the task. My preferred workspace is the Essentials Classic, but you can change this and customize it for yourself. Let's have a look at layers. The template file you'll be working in has several layers. Layers help to separate parts of your work for the purpose of editing and layering. Layers can be locked and hidden. When they are locked, it means you can't actually do anything in that layer. To hide or make visible a layer, all you've got to do is click on the eye icon, which is in the left column of the Layers palette. I've hidden one layer called Windows. This is basically a layer that helps you get rid of any extraneous information. Or I can hide it, and that way you can see all the detail and the annotation under each box. So to lock layers you don't want to interfere with, you simply click on an icon in the second column, and that locks it, which prevents you from doing anything in that layer. Guides and grids. The template is also set up with guides and a grid of 10 millimeters divided into 10 units. These can be turned on and off by holding the Command key or the Control key on a PC, together with either the semicolon key for the guides or the quotation marks key for the grid. In this document, the guides are squares, but ordinarily you can drag a guide from the ruler from the left or the top and drag it into any position that you'd like. And from the top. You can hide the guides by holding the Command key with the semicolon key, or bring them back. Okay, as for the grid, hold the Command key and the quotation marks. Grids and guides will never appear when you print your designs. So why do we need grids and guides? Guides help you organize your drawing. Grids do the same. Now when it comes to the grid, it can control the way we use our pen tool. We can choose to snap to grid, which is turned on in View in the top menu. Here you can view or hide the guides and the grid. Snapping to grid restricts where you can place an anchor or move an object such as a line or a shape. It makes for accurate placement of anchor points in our drawings. The pen tool and anchors. We will be using the pen tool for all our drawing. The pen tool is used in conjunction with Add Anchor, Delete Anchor, and the Curve Anchor tool. When using the pen tool, each time you click, you set an anchor. Your next click will form a second anchor. The two anchors are joined by a line. If you click and drag simultaneously, you'll create an arc or curved line. So with the pen tool, click and drag and then move the pen tool again somewhere else, click and drag, and we can create a line that is curved. The anchors of curved lines have handles. They can be adjusted to soften or accentuate an arc. By using the white selection tool, we can drag the end of the handles and change the curve. We can move a line or shape we have made with the selection tool. This is the black arrow. Remove an individual anchor or multiple anchors with the direct selection tool, the white arrow. We always need to deselect an object, line or shape before changing from one selection tool to the other. To make life easier, we can move between tools without actually going to the menu by holding the Command key. Now, say we're on the pen tool. We make a line, but then we want to modify that line. By hitting the Command key or the Control key on a PC, we can change between the pen tool and the last selection tool. So the last selection tool I used was basically the white direct selection tool. So now I can move. I can also deselect by clicking away. Finally, we have the stroke and the fill. You'll notice here we have two boxes. There's a box which I've just turned white, which is the fill. The white fills the complete space. And the stroke, which is something with a hole in the middle of it. Now, these two boxes have very different functions. One controls the interior of a shape, and the other controls the edge. So let me just draw a simple box. Maybe we should just change the interior color of that. I can double click on the fill and I get my color picker, and I can select a color and that becomes the new fill. Now we can also use swatches. Let me just drag swatches in from across the other palette. And when it comes to swatches, basically you have a whole bunch of presets. They're on the right hand side column usually. So whatever is laying on top, whether it's the fill or the stroke, because you can change the arrangement by clicking on the stroke, it puts a stroke on top. Now when I double click on that, I go to the color picker, I can now change the stroke as opposed to the fill. And I can click off that to give you a better idea of what has happened. So stroke and fill. One controls the edge and the other controls the interior, the fill. Now when it comes to the stroke, you can actually make that a lot heavier or thicker by going to the menu on the right hand side or the top and select a different weight. The default weight usually is 1 point, but we can, of course, nothing's going to happen unless you select the object you want to change. And we can make that line heavier or lighter. All right, now that's all well and good with shapes, but sometimes when you're using line and all our initial tasks will be on line, it's important that we actually turn off the stroke. Otherwise, this will happen. We've got a line and a line and a line. Here we go. So we have now a 3 anchored line, but because the stroke is on, we also have a partial fill. Now, what we need to do is to turn off that fill. And the easiest way to do that is by hitting this little diagonal line, and that just takes away the fill. It's now empty. Now let's put all this information to our new task. We're going to look at solar width and the use of line, and we're going to use the template that you can download from Compass.